Good evening and welcome to this episode of Global Women Enrichment Podcast. We are so happy that you're here with us. Today we're going to be talking about why it's okay to be different. First of all, let's just say God created each one of us with our own individual DNA. So right there from birth, we are different and we should embrace those differences. So let's just get into a little bit about why it's okay to be different. There was an episode that we did quite a while ago where we talked about a bouquet of flowers. And if you have that bouquet, you have so many different flowers, and yet together they come and make this beautiful bouquet. And so there you see differences. And when we talk about it's okay to be different, we're talking about culturally different language, even if you speak the same language, different accents that you may have, also from disabilities, race, even like where you decide you want to live or what car you want to drive, right? We are all different and we make different choices. And so therefore, we need to embrace those differences and understand that if we were all exactly the same, that would be pretty darn boring. So what do you all think?
Oh, it would be horrible. I could not stand if all of you guys were looking like me right now. I'm sorry. It's our differences that make us interesting.
Yes.
I love the blonde hair. I love the short hair. I like the brown hair. I like the straight, the curly, the different, what should I say? What's the word I'm looking for? Of our skin, a different tone of our skin. It's all what makes us interesting. And I oftentimes wonder why, because being different, sometimes you're being bullied, like kids at school and all of that stuff. For whatever reason, you find a student that may be wearing glasses, and the student may feel that the glasses are too thick or something, or too big for his face or something. And I know some students, I've read stories where the bully would take the kids' glasses and would throw them down and stomp on them and all of that stuff. And that is such a mean thing. And it's what I would say to this, especially to avoid bullying and all of that stuff, is we need to be very careful and be very involved with the upbringing of our children.
Yes.
Because if we teach them the right thing, they will do the right thing,
Correct.
So we have to teach our kids to appreciate all the differences in their colleagues and just be accepting, You don't have to agree. I don't have to agree with you ladies, but I respect your opinion.
Exactly.
And if we can learn to do those type of things and learn to respect each other and value each other's position, I think the world would be a better place.
Absolutely. Agree with you.
You made a comment about parenting and about parents teaching children the right thing. Mm-hmm. Too often today, we hear of children who are doing things that are unkind or mean. And I just wonder how parental influence can make a difference in what our children do. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk at some point about the differences in families and why families behave a certain way. But I think the concept of the bouquet and the variety of the flowers and the variety of the birds and the fact that God has this wonderful sense of variety, He's not boring at all. Mm-hmm. And He has chosen all of these people, all of His creation, as Martin Luther King Jr. would say, that He created all men equal.
Exactly.
He chose such a variety. And I think it's critical for parents to instill in their children a sense of self-worth, a sense of you are beautiful, you are created beautiful, no matter what the situation may be. As I all told you in an episode before, one of my children had a impediment from birth where he had a growth where the bottom jaw was out, and I taught him, you are God's creation. He made you this way, and you are gorgeous.
Yes.
And when someone laughs at you, you laugh more. Before they criticize you, you laugh more. And he learned to do that. But there did come a time when he said, Mom, when is the surgery?
Right.
And that was a tough surgery to go through. And thankfully, he was able to have surgery. And today, his smile is $1 million smile. Not literally, but
Close enough.
sometimes I feel like, boy, you better take care of that smile. We spent enough money on it,
Yes.
So I think a lot has to do with how we're raised. I hate to say this, but it's the truth that when we see bullying and antagonism to differences, it only speaks of the ignorance of the one who is practicing that difference or attitude. And that when we're truly educated, we can embrace the beauty of God's creation.
Agree. And I think you touched on something that that's really important is how we instill that self-worth and that identity within our children. It reminds me of my children between charter schools and private schools and, all of the different schooling options that thankfully we have in this country. When it came time for high school, my children had to decide which of these school options will I take. And it was very interesting because for each of them, their entire friend group chose one school. My children each chose a different school from their friend group. And I was really quite in awe that they decided to be different and that they decided to go where they felt they would be best suited to their environment and what they were looking for out of their education.
Right.
So.
I kid you not. I remember a couple of years back, like some of us are blessed with hips, because I'm going to keep it 100%. Some of us are blessed with hips, okay? Some of us are blessed with the big booty, okay? I neither have hips nor booty, okay? But I'm happy with me.
Right.
Okay. I remember one time in the office, this lady, so today she has no butt. And tomorrow, the butt almost knocked me over. And I literally ran. I literally ran behind her and I'm like, Sandra, is that you? Because I could not believe what I was seeing. And then it was all based on, the clothing that she was wearing because, they make those clothing with
right.
butts. But then a couple of months after, she had the procedure done to enhance her butt. Mm-hmm. Okay? So they're straight noses. They're noses like mine. I'm very proud of my nose. Okay? It's not like Laura's. But...
Well, I got to tell you, this nose got a little bit of help along the way.
Okay, I'm getting to that. Because sometimes you see people on television and they have a nose like mine, but then next year they have a nose like Laura's. What it is I'm saying, I just don't get it, that everybody wants to look like everybody else. Just be happy with you. You are uniquely made by God. He created you in his image and he created you like that for a reason.
Exactly.
Be happy with you.
Yes. Agreed.
And some would say it's easy for you to say that when they have things they're not happy with. So I think, again, we go back to parents helping children to appreciate who they are. I remember as a young child looking in the mirror and asking myself, what am I unhappy with? Well, I must confess I was a beautiful little girl. And my nickname,
I love that.
My nickname was Dushan Dolly. So my maiden name.
Oh my God. There's so much confidence around this table. I'm telling you.
My maiden name is Dushan, which just by saying my name caused people to ask me again, what did you say? So that kind of attention always built me up. There was always the question, what's your name? It wasn't a common name. Nobody else had that name.
Right.
So when I got married, people said, how are you going to give up Dushan for Brown? I said, I'm not. I'm going to attach it to Dushan.
Yeah.
So professionally, I'm known as Sandra Dushan Brown. But hey, I'm proud to be Mrs. Brown, and I'm Sandra Brown for some. And there are some people who still call me by my maiden name, and it's interesting because in today's culture, to be called Dushi is not sounding nice.
Exactly.
But that's how I grew up. Dushi was my nickname in high school, and I had no problem with it. Okay? And I was also in primary school called Dushan Dolly. So I was a doll growing up, and that's how I felt. But what I had a problem with was my knees. I had tiny little feet, skinny legs, and I used to do track. I used to run.
Oh my gosh.
Believe it or not. But my knees, I had knock knees. So the skinnier I was, you saw it more. But the chubbier I got, it disappeared.
Right.
So there goes a reason to put on weight.
We have to pay attention and look at those knees.
We do.
Well, you don't see them anymore because we live in a society where everyone has on pants. But when I had to wear those little skirts and they had to be just above the knees, I couldn't cover it up. It was a problem for me, and I have pictures with those little knees knocking.
Well, see, I'm the opposite. I mean, I may have that nose, but I've got the legs, okay? What can I say? I've been told that I have, in my younger days, I still have the legs, but I should say in Tina Turner younger days, they used to call me Tina Turner legs. You know the video?
Yes.
When she was walking and just working it in that video. So I even remember one time at work, I started going to the gym and all of that stuff, right? So my girlfriend and we were talking about what time we're going to go to the gym. And I had on a short skirt that day. And this guy from nowhere, I guess he overheard our conversation. He's like, girl, with legs like those, you don't need to go to no gym. I was like, what can I see? What can I say? I got the legs.
Listen, the butt, the legs, the hips.
I may not have the butt, I may not have the hips,
right,
but I have the legs.
Yes.
Okay? And that's
together they make the beautiful package that you are. Yes.
It's important.
It is. It's important. And, just looking across our table, we're all so different, and yet we're so beautiful and so alike in the same way. That's right. And just to clarify, when we were talking about my nose and I said it had some help, it was broken 3 times.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah, I had my nose broken because I'm very active. We've talked about my outdoorsy self.
Right.
And in my outdoorsy self, I had my nose broken 3 times, and eventually it had to be corrected. So it was actually a lot smaller than this when it started.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. Wow.
But, even that, if you look at pictures of me prior to broken noses to now, it's a different nose, a little bit bigger than it was. I still think it's beautiful.
Yes,
right? Because we have to accept ourselves for who we are.
We would have not known that it was broken,
Yes.
We didn't know,
Yes. So another area where our differences really come to play is diversity of thought and the ability to have more than one mind collaborate on any one thing, which is really where the concept of the mastermind came from, was Napoleon Hill writing about how all of these successful people got successful, and it was really by leveraging the intellect of so many different people. You're never going to be that person that knows absolutely everything, especially when it comes to a collaboration. So why not go ahead and bring that thought process to the table and say, you know what, I'm going to be working on developing this new pen. And I want it to be so different than other pens. Again, differences in the marketplace. But I can't think of what it could be other than I'm going to change the cap. And then I come to each of you and say, well, what other thoughts do you have? And before we know it, we have a new pen that comes onto the marketplace. And with that, there's so many other things, collaboration in music, collaboration in art, even just collaboration in pulling the podcast together, right? When we're thinking of what to talk about next and we're getting the input from our viewers and we each get on a call or a meeting together to discuss the next ones, what I'm thinking is different than what you're thinking, Vinoria, and what you're thinking, Sandra, and together we collectively decide, okay, this is probably the best way to go. What are your thoughts on the diversity of thought?
It's like collaboration of the minds. It's a beautiful thing, and everybody's, it's always good to listen to each other's opinion. And you do not have to agree with everything, but you can take different pieces of different positions from each person, each person's different thoughts, and put it together, and it makes something beautiful.
Yes.
And no one needs to feel threatened.
Exactly.
Because sometimes that comes out where, oh, they're thinking differently than I am, so something must be wrong with me. No. There would be no creativity if we all were thinking the same way. It would be a boring world. There'd be
Very
no
boring.
beauty. So I think it's very important that we respect each other's ideas and that we share, because God has given us all different gifts. And if we can embrace that and bring it to the table, collaborate. If we can collaborate, put things together, after all, that's how most innovations are made and inventions, is through collaboration and great minds coming together, not necessarily to think alike, but to think differently and to create something different and beautiful.
It's just with even just a basic organization. Imagine if everyone had the same mind like the president. But no, he has to diversify and bring in different talent, and everything that people have to offer. And put them in the right place, recognizing what your gifts are, what your skill sets are, and putting you in the right place to make the organization a success.
Yeah, and with that actually comes the differences in personality types. Because within an organization, again, if everybody were exactly the same, you wouldn't get there. So there's different types of assessments out there that talk about personality types. There's like the Wiley Disc, and there's Hogan and so many others. And really it comes down to, do you have more of a dominant style? Do you have more of a style where you're the extrovert, you're the introvert, you're the analytical person, you're the social person.
You're the feeler.
You're the feeler.
Thinker.
Right. Yeah. So depending on which assessment, there's so many ways to describe it. But at the end of the day, we each have a different personality. And that personality, there's so many different things out there, whether you're born with it or is it nature, is it nurture, is it both? However, regardless of how it came to be, the fact that there are those differences really is great. And to your point, Venoria, within an organization, having those different personality types and recognizing them, and to your point, Sandra, being respectful of them is so important, because so many times that dominant, that extrovert type personality can cause the others to pull back. And we have to all, going back to self-worth in being different, understand that we do have a position at the table and in the thought process and in the mastermind and in the collaboration, and every person's, regardless of the personality that you bring to the table, your thoughts are welcome.
Right. And if I may say one thing, Laura, before we close, be happy with you. And because I was listening to something a couple days ago, and one person was saying they used to wonder why the people are not loving them, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's not going to love you. I know I'm a lot to swallow. So I know I'm a lot, I'm a lot, okay? Each of us, Sandra is a lot to take sometimes, okay? But you know what? But you cannot be going around and saying, hey, I want everybody to like me, because everybody did not even like Jesus, and he was the master, Son of God, flawless, and he came unto his own, and his own received him not. So how can you think that in a world with millions of people, that every single person that you come in touch with would love you? That is what you need to do. You need to love yourself.
And it's interesting because you can only love others according to how you love yourself. And I don't want our viewers to think that we take this lightly or that it's easy. I think that's very important, because we're self-confident women. It sounds easy, but it's not easy. But you have to begin your journey of self-worth, identity, knowing who you are, understanding why you were created, what do you contribute to the conversation and to the creativity of the group you're in, and accept who you are. Most people would never believe how introverted and shy I am.
Right.
Nobody would believe that.
Well, I think people would believe how extroverted Venoria and I are.
Right?
But you know what? That's also from a professional background, because we are both in sales.
Yes.
And I have to deal with people every day.
Right.
But the initial person that I was growing up was very shy. I would cry for everything. I wanted to disappear and be in my own space. I created my own worlds and I lived in them. And I see that in my younger child. He creates his own space and he lives in them and he lives in his mind. I lived in books and I was happy with a book. And here I am in nursing. I am dealing with new people and their problems every day, and it brings me great joy. And if you put me on a podium and I have to speak to a crowd, my attitude is, I have to shine. I'm not going to look stupid. So I'm going to talk. I'm going to shine. I'm going to glorify Jesus. That's how I see it. So I'll say, God, give me strength. I can't do this. Just do it for me, Lord. And he does it. It's like my husband. Nobody would believe how introverted my husband is. You put him on a platform and he transforms.
Well, and I think that's one of the interesting things about introverts and extroverts. It's not that you don't, as an introvert, have the capability to speak to a crowd and to be in the crowd and all of that. It's just that it's the energy, how we recharge ourselves.
Right.
As an extrovert, we prefer to recharge our energy with other people. Mm-hmm. As introverts, we prefer to recharge our energy with a book and in our own space and in our own world.
And I think I read a study where it does show also that you can be both introverted and extroverted.
And you choose where you want to be.
I think sometimes I can be very introverted, believe it or not, Laura.
I can believe it.
I can be like that sometimes, so.
My son says I'm an extrovert, but I think I'm a good mix of both.
I think you, yeah,
and
I
he
think you do. You balance
studies
it.
personality types, my youngest child. So he thinks I'm an extrovert. So in our house, he's the most introverted. Mm-hmm. Then I think it's me. Then it's my husband. And then it's my firstborn, who in high school was a social butterfly. Mm-hmm. Now he's a little bit more balanced,
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful thing. I think it's all beautiful.
It's all beauty.
It's beautiful.
All things bright and beautiful.
Yes.
The Lord God made us all.
Yes. So as we bring this to a close, I think another way we've been talking a lot about the physical aspects. And so let's put it in another way that maybe some of our viewers can tell, because some of the men watching are going to be like, really, y'all are talking about your hair and your nose and everything. But when we look at it from a car's perspective, if every single car was still the black T model Ford that we started with, and there was absolutely no other car to choose from, eventually somebody would come along, just like they did, and said, we want differences, we want variety, we want choice. And together, now we look across the world and the plethora of cars and choices that we have, colors, features, everything else, that's how we are as individuals. We come in different colors, different shapes, different features, different gifts, different everything. And if we can value that in a car, why can't we value that in each other? So thank you for joining us tonight. We would love to hear from you. Reach out to us at gwenrichment.com. Take care.